Have you ever noticed that your dog brings you their favorite toy, not when they're bursting with energy, not when they're bored, but when you're sitting quietly, shoulders heavy, having one of those days where everything feels a little too much? You didn't ask for it. You weren't reaching for them. And yet, there they are, standing in front of you with that worn stuffed animal hanging from their mouth. Eyes soft, tail moving slowly. Not frantically, just there. Most people smile, give it a gentle toss, and assume it's about play. That the dog wants a game, that it's simple, instinctual, random, even. But what if it isn't random at all? Here's what's worth sitting with for a moment. Dogs have lived alongside human beings for tens of thousands of years. Not just near us times with times us. Inside our homes, our routines, our emotional landscapes, and in that time, something quiet and profound has developed between our species that we're only beginning to understand. The toy your dog brings you may not be an invitation to play. It may be something much older than that, something that lives in the space between instinct and feeling, between animal and relationship. This isn't about training, it isn't about obedience. It's about what your dog might actually be communicating and why understanding it can tell you something beautiful about the bond you've built together. The mistake most dog owners make is an understandable one. When a dog drops a ball at your feet, the mind goes immediately to play, to fetch, to the familiar ritual of throw and retrieve. And sometimes, yes, that's exactly what's happening. But dogs bring toys in many different emotional situations. When you come home after a long trip, when you've been crying, when the house has been too quiet, when you're on a phone call and your voice sounds different than usual, in those moments, the toy arrives not as a game, but as something else entirely. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice the energy is different too. There's no frantic circling, no barking. Just a gentle offering, a small, deliberate act. What does it mean? Dogs, by nature, are resource guarders. Not in the aggressive sense, but in the deeply wired evolutionary sense. Objects that belong to them hold value. Their toys, their bones, their favorite sleeping spots, these things matter to them the way certain objects matter to us. The worn blanket we've had since childhood. The coffee mug that just feels right. Things we keep close because they carry something we don't have words for. So when a dog brings you their favorite toy, not any toy, but that times toy, the one they carry to bed, the one they've had for years, what they're doing, in the language of canine psychology, is sharing something valuable, opening their hands, so to speak, letting you into the circle of what they care about most. Think of a child who runs to show a parent their drawing, not because the drawing needs anything done with it, not to get approval exactly, but because something was made, something felt important, and the instinct was to bring it to the person who matters most. The act of sharing times the message. Your dog cannot hand you a letter. They cannot sit across from you and say, "I see you, I'm here." But they can pick up the thing they love most and walk it over to you. And in doing so, they are saying something that doesn't require words. And here's the part that tends to stop people. Dogs notice things we don't realize we're showing. Long before you've fully registered that you're stressed, your dog has already detected it. The slight change in your posture, the shift in your breathing, the flatness in your voice, the way you're sitting differently than you usually do. Dogs read human emotional states through a combination of body language, facial expression, scent, and sound with a sensitivity that researchers are still working to fully understand. They don't experience your sadness the way another person might. They don't follow the narrative of what went wrong, but they register that something has changed. That the emotional temperature of the room is different. That times are different, and something in them responds to that. For some dogs, the response is to come closer, to sit against your leg. For others, it's to bring the toy. to offer the thing that in their experience has always been associated with connection, with closeness, with the good moments between you. It's not that they understand grief or anxiety in the way we do. It's that they notice you. They notice you with their whole being, and they respond. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a behavior observed in pack animals, wolves, dogs, and others called social sharing. In healthy packs, resources are not hoarded silently. Food, objects, space, these things move between members of the group as a form of bonding. Sharing signals safety. It signals belonging. It says, we are in this together. When your dog brings you a toy, they may be engaging in something very close to this ancient behavior, not because they've thought it through, but because the instinct towards social cohesion, toward reinforcing the bond with the beings they consider their people runs deep, deeper than training, deeper than habit. In human terms, we might call it gift giving, and there's something genuinely tender about that. Out of everything your dog owns, which in their world is not very much, they chose to bring it to you, not to keep, not to play, just to give, just to be close. What's also worth knowing is that this behavior tends to deepen with time. Younger dogs are often more erratic about it, enthusiastic, playful, easy to misread. But dogs who have lived with their people for years, who have moved through seasons together, through losses and celebrations, through the slow accumulation of shared life, those dogs often develop a quieter, more intentional version of this behavior. They've learned your patterns. They know what your difficult mornings look like. They remember the weeks when you didn't sleep well. They've been present for more of your life than many people have. And in that long familiarity, something crystallizes. The toy becomes less about play and more about times us, about the ritual of connection that they've come to associate with closeness, safety, and love. If you've had your dog for a decade or more, you may have noticed this shift without naming it. The way they bring things to you more gently now, the way they seem to choose their moments more carefully. That's not your imagination. The toy, in the end, is a kind of anchor, a bridge between what a dog feels or senses or registers and what they have no other way to express. It's the equivalent of sitting beside someone in silence because you know words won't cover it. It's presence, made tangible, made physical. And perhaps that's what it comes down to. The toy itself doesn't matter. It's what the toy carries, the trust that allows them to hand over something precious, the attention that noticed you were hurting before you said a word, the long relationship that taught them somewhere in their nervous system that when things feel uncertain, they want to be near you. Maybe the toy was never really the message. Maybe the message was trust, the kind that doesn't need a reason or a reward, the kind that shows up quietly, in the doorway, on the days when you needed it most and didn't know how to ask. Out of everything your dog owns in the whole small world of their belonging, they chose to bring it to you, not to anyone else, to you. And maybe that's their quiet way of saying the thing they've always been trying to say. You're my favorite person. I noticed. I'm here. Has your dog ever brought you a toy during a difficult moment in your life? Tell me about them in the comments. And if you've ever felt more understood by a dog than by the people around you, you'll want to watch the next video on this channel.